So today we're checking out the new Samsung Galaxy A54. I believe you can get this in 4 different colors. This one here is called Awesome Lime. Some of the specs on here, you've got a 6.4 inch Super AMOLED display, 120 Hz refresh rate, up to 1000 nits brightness, 1080 by 2340 resolution. It's got IP67 water resistance, Gorilla Glass 5, comes with Android 13, One UI 5.1. This one has an Exynos 1380 processor, and you have the choice of 6 or 8 gigabytes of RAM depending on what storage option you go with. This one here has 128 gigabytes of storage, and then it's got a 5000 milliamp hour battery. Also has fast charging up to 25 watts, so not quite as good as the S23 series. Surprisingly, you can still use a micro SD card on here. Also has stereo speakers, Wi-Fi 6 on here as well. The fingerprint scanner is built right into the screen. Inside the box, you've got your SIM card removal tool, safety and warranty information, USB-C to USB-C charging cable. I kind of like how they paint the sides on here to match the back. They didn't do that on the S23 Ultra for some reason. Looks like it's glass now on the back. This definitely feels a little more premium than last year. You can also tell this one's a little bit different shape on the corners versus the previous model as well. Pretty similar to the A14 5G, feels a little more premium and is a little bit smaller. SIM card or micro SD card tray is there on the top. The design on this, just the overall style of this on the back and the edges, definitely reminds me of an iPhone. You've got one speaker on the bottom along with the USB-C charging port. You can see it's got a hole punch camera there in the middle and just a little bit bigger bezel there at the bottom. Now when setting up, you've got face recognition, fingerprints, PIN, password, or pattern. Now to me, when setting up the fingerprint scanner, it does feel like it's a little bit lower than what I'm used to. You can also choose between light or dark theme when setting up as well. They've also got about 18 tips and tricks here if you're new to Samsung phones. Looks like it already had a small software update on here, so I might as well go ahead and let that update. Sort of interesting how it says One UI now while it's updating. I noticed that on my S23 Ultra as well. Fingerprint scanner on here seems to work pretty good as usual with Samsung. After everything was updated, looks like it's using about 23% of the 128 gigabyte storage. Left of the home screen, you've got Google Discover or Samsung O to choose from. Of course, swipe up, you've got all of your pre-installed apps, most of your typical stuff here from Samsung, Google, Microsoft, and then it looks like there's a few extras added like Facebook, Netflix. Not too much extra in my opinion. Also lets you uninstall some of those if you don't want those. That's always nice to see. Over here on the edge, you've got your shortcuts to pretty much any app that you would want. You can modify that as well down here at the bottom. If you've used other Samsung phones within the past couple years, this one's gonna feel very familiar, very similar to the A14 5G. Even my S23 Ultra isn't much different than this one, besides the S Pen of course. Up in the notification shade, you've got most of your typical stuff like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, auto rotate, flashlight, airplane mode, mobile data, mobile hotspot, power saving, location, link to Windows. You also have screen recorder, quick share, smart view, nearby share, eye comfort shield, do not disturb, scan QR code. You also have different modes like Dolby Atmos, NFC, live caption, music share, protect battery, color inversion, extra dim. You've also got secure folder, create note, and ultra data saving. Now performance-wise, it's looking like we're getting a nice bump over the previous Galaxy A53 5G. As you can see here in the single and multi-core scores, plus there's a nice increase in the compute scores as well. While gaming on this phone isn't going to be the best out there, it still feels like it has pretty good gaming performance in my opinion. Doesn't seem to be overheating or have a significant drop in frame rates in my testing. I think most people will enjoy gaming on here, and everything seems about like what you would expect for a phone in this category. But the crazy thing about this phone is when it comes to the battery life, it lasted about 15 hours before finally dying at 100% screen brightness. So you should easily get a couple days on this phone with normal usage, probably even more if you turn the screen brightness down and are a little more conservative with your use. Then it takes about 1 hour, 20 minutes to charge back up. Now the screen on here looks really nice, plenty bright enough, and you'll be able to watch apps like Netflix in full HD resolution, YouTube videos up to 4K. Speakers on here nice and loud as well, especially if you turn on the Dolby Atmos. Let me give you a quick sample just to give you an idea of what it sounds like.
Tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. Guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away. As you fade away. As you fade away.
Here on the back, you've got a triple camera setup, 50 megapixel main lens, 12 megapixel ultra wide, and then a 5 megapixel macro lens. It can shoot video up to 4K resolution at 30 frames per second on the front and back cameras. Then you have a 32 megapixel front facing camera. Inside the camera app, you've got stuff to choose from like Fun, which basically uses Snapchat lenses. You've also got Portrait, where you can adjust how much it blurs the background. Photo, video. Kind of surprised you can only do 4K 30 frames per second for video recording, but I guess not that big a deal for most people. And then in more, you've got Pro video, single take, night, food, panorama, macro, super slow-mo, slow motion, and hyperlapse. You also have Bixby Vision and AR Zone. Let me give you a few samples of photos and video just to give you an idea of what to expect. I feel like the camera and video quality on here is actually pretty good. I did notice the shutter speed is a little bit slow for my liking though. I know I've heard that's pretty common on other Samsung phones. By the time you hit the button to take the photo to when it actually does, there's just a little bit too much delay for my liking. But once you get used to that, you can actually get pretty good photos and video on here, in my opinion. So hopefully this video gave you a little closer look at the new Galaxy A54 5G. So far, I'm pretty impressed with what I'm seeing. They've improved the build quality, made it look a little more high-end, gave it better performance and better battery life. It still doesn't have wireless charging, but not a huge deal there in my opinion. I'll definitely have to do some more comparisons with this, but I can easily see this phone being one of the best mid-range devices available this year. So if you've made it this far into the video, you may want to say thanks by subscribing, and don't forget to give a thumbs up if this video was helpful. This is Brian from Fishbee Productions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.